a big loving welcome to your very own channel, Ammu&You. I'm Ammu and I'm here as always, ready to narrate a beautiful, beautiful story to you. You know, today's story, Heidi. Heidi comes to meet her grandfather, comes to live with him. So the story today is Heidi comes to her grandfather. One fine sunny morning in June, a young woman was walking briskly up a narrow mountain track. She held the hand of a little girl with brown curly hair who was no more than 5 years old. "Come on, Heidi," said the young woman. "After Dorfley, we've still got a good climb ahead of us up into the Alps." Heidi did not reply. The poor little girl trailed along, all bundled up. Heidi was soon walking ahead up the mountain track. She liked this countryside. Despite the heat, she jumped about like a young goat, full of delight. She had never been so high up the mountain before because her aunt used to leave her to be cared for by people in the valley. Suddenly she heard bells ringing. A herd of goats was climbing up from the village, playing joyfully along the path. Peter, the goat herd, was taking them out to graze in the Alpine meadows, as he did every morning in the spring and summer. "Your goats are so pretty," cried Heidi. Peter looked steadily and silently at her for a few moments. Then suddenly he gave her a broad smile. Heidi rushed into the middle of the herd. She was very happy. Suddenly she stood still, quickly tore off her coat and her dress and made a tidy pile of them beside the track. Feeling much more comfortable in her petticoat and with her feet bare, Heidi went on jumping about with the goats while Peter laughed at her carefree nature. Running along behind the goats, Heidi and Peter could see a chalet perched up ahead of them, isolated on the mountainside. An old man sitting in front of the chalet watched them as they climbed. Heidi was not shy and held out her hand. "Hello, I'm Heidi and you must be grandfather." Odette exclaimed breathlessly. "I'm leaving the little one with you. I have to go and work in town and now it's your turn to look after her." She kissed Heidi without even waiting for a reply and ran off down to the village. The chalet only had one room, but Heidi found a ladder at the back. This led up to the hayloft, and through the little skylight she could see the whole mountainside. "Grandfather, I want to sleep up here. Here and nowhere else," cried Heidi enthusiastically. The old man, of whom everyone was afraid, smiled. This little girl who had arrived from nowhere was delightful. Now Heidi explored her new world. She loved the great pine trees which stood over the chalet like two guardian angels. In the evening, grandfather milked the goats in the stable. He gave Heidi a big bowl full of warm and foaming milk, and the little girl drank it down to the last drop. She had never tasted anything so delicious. The sun had scarcely set, but Heidi was overcome with so much fresh air. She climbed up into the loft where her grandfather had prepared a mattress of sweet-smelling hay. Before her eyes closed, she looked at the stars shining beyond the skylight. She had never been so happy before in her life. Everything pleased her. The chalet, the mountain, and above all, grandfather, with his gruff voice and simple ways. And then there was Peter and the herd. When Heidi woke up next morning, the sun was already high in the cloudless sky. She jumped out of her haybed and clambered down the ladder. "Good morning, grandfather," she cried. "Good morning, Heidi. Sit down, breakfast is ready." As he watched the little girl munching her bread and gulping down her bowl of milk, grandfather was thoughtful. Here he was, an old man who thought that life held no more happiness for him. And in just one day, Heidi had become his little ray of sunshine. "Heidi, today you will spend the day with Peter. He will be here soon with the herd and you will go with him. He knows the mountain like the back of his hand." "Grandfather, can I look after the goats too? They enjoy playing so much." "Please, grandfather." "Of course, Heidi," he smiled and gave her the lunch he had packed for her. Heidi waited impatiently by the footpath for Peter. "Peter, I'm coming with you. You can teach me the names of all the goats and how to look after them. Is that all right?" Peter was delighted with his companion. The days often felt long when he was up there all on his own. Heidi now ran everywhere in the Alpine meadow. At midday, she felt ravenous. Peter only had a piece of bread, for his mother was very poor. "Would you like to share my lunch?" asked Heidi. Peter had never seen so much food all at once. He gulped it down so quickly that Heidi offered him the rest. "Heidi, this is the happiest day of my life." For Peter, usually so silent, it was a real speech. One morning, everything disappeared under a white blanket. Up on the mountainside, grandfather and Heidi occupied themselves in the house during the bad weather. The winter was here. First, he carved a matching bowl and spoon. Heidi was thrilled to have her own dish. Another day, he carved a flute for her. "I'm never bored with you, grandfather." "Nor I with you, my dear, dear Heidi." One bright day in January, when everything was frozen hard, there was a knock at the chalet door. Knock, knock, knock. It was Peter, the goat herd, who had climbed up from the village to see how they were. "You know, Heidi," he said, "you should come to Dorfly. My grandmother is so anxious to meet you." "Oh, grandfather," begged Heidi, "please let me go. Please." After living so long alone, grandfather did not really want to go down. But Heidi begged so hard that in the end he did agree. He wrapped her in blankets, then harnessed up the sleigh, and away they glided down to Dorfly. Thank you, grandfather," cried Heidi, full of excitement. He put the little girl down in front of Peter's poor chalet. Heidi pushed the door open. In the only room, full of draughts, an old woman sat huddled up in a flimsy shawl. "Come here," she said in a gentle voice. "My eyesight faded long ago, but my ears are still good, my dear. Tell me, how are you getting up there, you and your grandfather?" In the evening, when they were settled back in their nice, snug chalet, Heidi told grandfather about the old woman's sad life. Since the death of Peter's father, no one looked after the chalet and they had very little money. "You can do so many things if you wanted to. Peter's grandmother would not feel so cold," said Heidi. "Please, grandfather, please, can you?" And so it was that the little Heidi managed to convince a grumpy old man to help others again. The following Sunday, grandfather got up early. Get dressed, Heidi. We'll go and visit the village, and on the way we'll see how grandmother is getting on. And a little later, Heidi was walking proudly in the village, holding grandfather's hand. Before long, grandfather was a regular visitor to the village. No one treated him like a silly old man of before. Everyone now greeted him and kissed Heidi, his little ray of sunshine. What a lovely story, and what a wonderful girl Heidi was. Kind-hearted, loving, and happy. If you've liked the story, children, like, share, subscribe, and please remember to press the bell icon. Only then you will get to know about all the new videos that I upload on my channel, all for you. Be good. Try to think about Heidi and try to feel and think, would you like to be like her? All the good things that she was made of? Think about it and do let me know through your comments. Wait for Ammu again, that is me. I'll come again soon with another story to narrate to you. Thank you for listening to my story, children. Love you and bye.